you guys? So today is my 7th day of vlogging in a row, so I'm really excited about this. But I know my videos, like my other videos, are pretty funny, like just like goofy, but today's video is gonna be a little more deep. So if you don't like deep, then like skedaddle. So I am wearing my big hoops because I feel like people will click on this if I have big hoops in. I don't know why, but I'm just gonna do it anyways. These are actually my hoops. I used to wear these in high school, so what you don't know is I have pajamas on, but now you know that, so whatever. Okay, so today I'm telling my 18 and pregnant story. I was 18 when I found out I was pregnant, so hence the title. But basically, this is like gonna be kind of deep, so if you're not into deepness, then you don't want to watch this. You don't want to watch this. So at 18 years old, I was in a very dark place in my life. I just moved back home from college because it just wasn't going good at the school I was at. And Denver was in my city, so I wanted to be closer to him. And I moved back here, started going to school, and I was just in a dark place. And he was in a really, really dark place. He was using, so that was something that we were trying to figure out, trying to get him past, but he couldn't get past it. So it was just a really toxic environment for both of us. So we broke up, and I remember I went to Dallas that weekend and hung out with my friends, and when I came back home, I didn't feel weird or anything. I just felt tired. I'd been working out, and I remember I was out of breath, kind of like right now because I'm nervous about telling this story. For some reason, I was like, dude, what if I'm pregnant? But like, people think that they're pregnant all the time and they're not. So I was just like, whatever, I'm probably not. And I remember me and my 2 girlfriends, we went to the store and we got a pregnancy test just because. Just to see, you know, just to like give you peace of mind. So we go get the test, and I'm fully not expecting it to say positive. And so, as you know, there's a negative and there's a positive. So my test came back positive, and I remember I was just like, my heart sank, and I was like, there's no way. Like, I didn't even believe it, and I just immediately started like crying. My friends were like panicking too. They were like, oh my gosh, like we didn't really think that this was gonna actually happen. And so we go to Target. My friend Asher, or actually I think my friend Ashley was the one who bought it. I can't remember. One of them bought the pregnancy test, the second one, because I was broke. And it was like the expensive ones that are like, say, pregnant or not pregnant. So this one was like, you know, very, very obvious. So I go to the Target bathroom. Sorry, Target. My bad, sorry I peed in your bathroom. So I get into the bathroom, you know, I do the deed, and then I come out and I'm not looking at it because I'm like, I'm panicking. So I'm not looking at it. Now mind me, in my head, I'm like, me and Denver already been together. Like, he's going down a horrible route. I'm freaking out. I wasn't going down the best route, so I was also freaking out about that. Just all these things flood in my head. And I remember looking down at the test, and I looked at it with my girlfriends, pulled it up, and it said, pregnant, clear as day. I actually think I still have it, but I'm not gonna get that out because that's kind of gross. And I just melted down, and I was just panic, sheer panic. But like, there was never a doubt in my mind that I'm not gonna keep her. So it was just like, I'm gonna be a mom, like that kind of panic, like, oh my gosh, am I ready for that? But I didn't really know, it was so real. And so I remember like stuffing chocolate down my throat, like I was freaking out. You know, my friends dropped me off at home because I was like, I just need to get away, I just need to calm down. But I didn't want to see my parents. My mom, as many people know, is super, super, super strict. She did not raise me that way. And the way I was acting, she didn't raise me like that either. So I was panicking, and I walk in, and literally my mom was talking to me, and you know, I had a lump in my throat. I was so scared. And she was like, basically what I got from the conversation, I don't really even remember what she said because I was thinking obviously all in my head about how terrified I was. And my mom was like basically saying, you know, she's glad I left Denver. She's glad that this isn't going on anymore. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm about to have Denver's baby. So I'm freaking out. I was just panicking because I was like, oh my gosh, like this is awful. They never really even talked about Denver. So it was crazy that the one day that, you know, I'm finding out I'm pregnant, my mom's telling me she's glad I'm not with Denver. So I'm panicking, and I'm horrible at keeping secrets. Horrible. So I called my older sister, her name is Becca, and, or I didn't even call her, I texted her, and I said, dude, I'm pregnant or something like that. And she was like, oh my gosh, like, she told me, like, she was at Sam's, and she was with her aunt, and she was freaking out. She was like, oh my gosh. And she was like, I gotta get home or something like that. And she texted me basically encouraging me to tell the parents because it was such a big deal. I didn't know who else to tell, you know, she's my older sister, so that's, you know, just who you go to. And I don't want to tell my younger sister because I knew she'd panic. So I told the one who's wisest and smartest, and she told me to tell my parents. And I said, okay, I just need a little bit. So that night I go to my grandma's because we already had that planned. And before I go to my grandma's, I decide that I have to tell my best friend. So I go pick up my best friend, who was like, no, I don't want to, I can't hang out today. And I was like, no, we're hanging out today. And she was kind of like, don't tell me what to do, but like, I'm glad you came. So she got in the car, and I remember telling her, and she was like just stunned. And so we talked it through, and I told Denver. She convinced me to tell Denver first. So I text Denver, the father, and I say, hey, I need to see you. And he said, I don't think that's a good idea. And I said, well, I need to see you. And he said, I don't think that's a good idea because, you know, we're broken up. He probably thinks I'm crazy. Because I was a little crazy. So I texted him, and I'm like, I need to see you, dude. And he was like, I didn't want to tell him over text, so I didn't want to call him or anything. I wanted to show him the proof. So he was like, I don't know, maybe later. So what do? I just drive on up to his work, and I text him when I get outside of his work, and I say, you need to come outside. So he comes outside, and he's probably thinking, this girl is nuts, because I was. So he comes outside, and I have the test, and I just give it to him. And he looks at it, and his face was like, and then he just started hugging me and being there for me, and he was really awesome about it. And at that point, I guess we were kind of back together, like like we didn't establish that, but he was just like, basically, we were back together because he was really supportive about it. So that night we went to my grandma's house, and he had to go home to get his clothes. So my little brother, his mom was there, and we're really close. It's my half brother, so he has a different mom. But me and her are close. So she had also started telling me that, you know, someone at her work basically said that I need to get away from Denver. Because mind you, Denver was in a terrible, terrible space in life. So I was just like so defeated because no one had ever said this stuff to me until, of course, the day I find out I'm pregnant with Denver's baby. And I'm thinking, you know, that's the dad of my child. Like that, like what's gonna happen to my baby? Like I was just so scared. And I remember I just couldn't even talk, and I was just so rude to Stacy. That's her name. That's Carson's, my little brother's mom's name. I was so rude to her, and I just like flipped out on her, and I was just like, I had such a short fuse because I was so stressed out. So that night, Denver comes over to my grandma's, and we kind of talk things through, and he's just kind of there for me. And you know, when you have a secret like that, like it weighs so heavy on you. Like I just needed to tell my mom. Like I felt it so heavily that I needed to tell her. But that night I stayed the night at my grandma's because I couldn't face my mom without telling her. I knew I couldn't. So the moment I get home, I walk in the house, and it was like, I just was like, God was like putting this pressure on me. Like I know it was God. He was like, you have to tell her. And I was like, no. And he's like, yeah, you do. So I'm kind of freaking out, but I didn't want to tell her first because I knew it would just hurt her. Like she would just be so hurt. So I go in the house, and I don't remember why I went outside, but I go outside, and oh, we were gonna go get a snow cone. Yeah. Because I just wanted to get out of the house. I couldn't face my mom without telling her, and I was gonna tell my sister, I think. So I walk to my car, and for some reason my stepdad came outside, and my sister was inside. She was coming with me to get a snow cone. And I think that was just a God thing because my stepdad was outside, and he was like, it was the perfect time to tell him. And he's like this sound one, like he's like not crazy. My mom was kind of crazy, but like in a good way. So I tell him, I'm like, I blurted out, I was just like, I need to tell you something. And we walked behind the house because my mom was in the way our house is set up, like our front room of the house has a lot of windows, so I know she could see us like standing there, and I didn't want to tell him where she could see us, but it was still shady because we walked on the side of the house. So we walk on the side of the house, and I'm just bawling, and I say, I'm pregnant. I just blurted out, and he goes, crap. How far are you taking prenatals? Just starts asking me these questions, practical questions, and I answer. I tell him, you know, explain to him everything, and a few moments later my sister comes outside. She sees me bawling and talking to my stepdad, so she's like, what is it, like, tell me what's wrong. And I was like, I'm pregnant. And she was like, oh no, actually, she goes, are you pregnant? She knew. And I was like, and I just started bawling. And so of course my mom notices all of us are on the side of the house. She can't see any of us, so she's probably thinking we got kidnapped. So she comes outside and she walks over on the side of the house, and I see her, and my heart just sinks because I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want to disappoint her. And so I'm bawling. She's freaking out. She's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And I looked at her and I was like, I'm pregnant. And she like lost the air in her body. All the air in her body just, and she was like, okay. And it was just like such a scary moment because I was so scared of what she was gonna say. And she just hugged me. And that was like the ultimate way, like, she could show me her love for me. She just hugged me. And it was just like such a relief, but also I knew like it was serious. And although I thought, you know, maybe she would cry or scream at me or something like that, like my mom, even though I did something I shouldn't have done and I was out doing all this stuff I knew I wasn't raised to do, she just hugged me and she was just there for me, and she said, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be really, really hard, but it's gonna be okay. And it was just like the greatest relief on this planet. And so then all the stress and pressure and just freaking out shifted to like excitement. Okay. Or in like game plan, like we had to figure out our game plan. So at that point, you know, we just figured out our game plan, what I was gonna do with Denver, if we were gonna continue a relationship. You know, I didn't know if we were gonna continue a relationship at that point because he was in such a dark place. And going through my pregnancy, it was still really hard. He was still in a bad place. I think for me, since I had her, you know, in my belly, it was easier for me to stop all the crazy things I was doing because I didn't really have a choice. And it was like I was a mom already the second I saw pregnant. But for him, I don't think that really set in until she was actually born. So throughout my pregnancy, you know, it was like the hardest thing in my life because Denver was going in and out of like, or not in and out, he went to a rehab, like a serious rehab. And his sobriety was like, up until the day that I had Ace. And our relationship was rocky, it was hard. You know, up until the day that I had her, I don't know if he was sober. But what I can say is from the point of her being born to almost 2 years later, he's been sober. And it's been so beautiful to watch that. So, you know, she was our saving grace. She changed me, she changed her dad, she changed our lives for the better, and she is literally the light of our lives. She means everything to us. So, that's our story, and I'm sure our story will continue. I can't wait to share those stories with y'all. Please make sure you subscribe to this channel. My other videos are a little less deep than this. They're funny and fun, and they're with my siblings who are awesome, and we still live here, and me and Denver are engaged, so me and Denver will be moving in together after we get married. I don't say this to glorify young pregnancy because young pregnancy is super hard, and your life is no longer your own when you have a child, and it's 10 times harder. And you hear that, but you don't get it until you're actually a mom and you're responsible for a whole nother life. But she was my saving grace, and you know, it was 100% God who basically shifted everything that I knew and changed it to something else, and gave me Ace and gave me Denver, and you know, he saved us. So I'm super grateful for that. But I want you guys to know that being a mom is super hard, and it's a huge responsibility, and it's not something that should be glorified at a young age because you know, you need to be ready for that. Say hi! So this is my little angel Ace. This is my saving grace. So, she just woke up from her nap, so I'm gonna end the video here. You can go outside. You can go outside. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure you do that now. We have a lot of fun vlogs, a lot of fun videos, so make sure you subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will be back at you soon. Without further ado, we're rolling out. That's like our thing.